Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you a more rules tech video. Something that I actually had to research myself, and after doing some research into this and looking some stuff up, it was interesting on how this works out and how this plays out. Feel free to ask questions down in the comment section if some of this stuff doesn't match up. Typically, I like to use the main rule book as a source point for some of this information. What ends up happening, at least that I noticed, is that the rule book, when you look at certain ways and chapters that things are defined, you can then find it in the app based on those same wordings. Unfortunately, looking through the main rule book and scouring through this, I was not actually able to find one comprehensive spot that covered it. I could only find it on the app. So using some of the examples in there, I just want to kind of take a little bit of time, record a short video talking about keywords. Keywords are the last part of the data sheet that tell you what a unit is. Keywords include things such as fly, character, leader, etc., and they're all the abilities that are down in the bottom of the data sheet. So for these abilities, there is a lot that comes into it. Sometimes it's stratagems, sometimes it's targeted rules and stuff like that. And with the Necron Codex, there is actually, I'm seeing a lot more of these certain specific rule keywords and stuff that cause different effects in the game, especially out of the Cryptek Dynasty. So it caused me to stop and look and see how some of these things interact. And I wanted to kind of just share some of my research here. So guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. Turn on the bell to get notified on all the content we bring here on the channel. Just today, I recorded one video talking about my army list that's going to be coming out tomorrow. And then I recorded a second video that I'll probably get out later this evening that was just talking about the Canoptek Court. So I want to get this video is going to be coming out first because this actually talks about something that is going to be definitely important across all armies. And it's probably going to be more important as we move forward on how these things interact. So keywords are at the bottom of the data sheet. And I'm looking at a couple like right now, just for my own reference point. You know, you have stuff like infantry character, epic hero, and then whatever it might be, like a Cryptek, an overlord, a noble, etc., etc., etc. And these are the things that allow you to know what abilities can target it, as well as what rules can sometimes apply. Things such as fly, beast, infantry, vehicle, cavalry, monstrous creature. Cavalry is not even around anymore. Mounted is what it is now. So the big critical part of this is in the basics of it. It's like, okay, well, okay, a unit has a keyword. So those are the rules that apply. If it has fly, it has fly. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's simple. But what happens when we start attaching units together? And that's more what this video is about, is with those attaching units and how things trigger. Because for example, right now in the for the Cryptek Court, the Canoptek Court, you can put a Technomancer, which is a infantry, with wraiths, which are beast. So what happens there? What happens when you target a unit with an ability that says a Cryptek unit? Well, the Cryptek is a Cryptek unit, but the wraiths do not have the Cryptek keyword. And then what happens if you shoot at them with an anti-infantry gun? Well, the Cryptek is a character. So is it a precision? And that's what we're going to talk about. So first and foremost, let's talk about and if you look in the app and you actually search, this is how I found it, keywords. It actually does a really good job of explaining it and putting everything in the forefront to make sense of it. So first things first is if a rule so if a unit has an ability that gains a benefit because of a unit having the keyword, this is counted for the entire unit. Every time basically when a unit is combined, all of the keywords get moshed together. And if everything that one unit has as the keyword, so a Cryptek with the character and infantry keyword, get pushed together with the data slate of the same unit. So the infantry for beast, etc., etc. So what this means is if you have anti-infantry guns and you shoot at a unit such as Canoptek Wraiths, Typically, you would not get any bonus for your anti-infantry because they are beasts, not infantry. However, because that one Cryptek model is in there, that Technomancer, and he has infantry, and it actually gives a direct example of this with Psyker, anti-Psyker keywords for a unit. Now, the entire unit is susceptible to anti-infantry weapons, and that's going to be very important with some of the Xenos armies moving forward, especially ones that can have units in there that are infantry joined to things that are not, Wraiths and Technos, for example. Now, on the opposite end of it, you say, okay, so now if a unit gets all those keywords, does that suddenly mean that something like Crypt Thralls that can join suddenly gain fly? Well, they gain the keyword, yes, but they don't gain the rules, and that's an important factor too. While a unit gains the keywords and gets those negative and positive effects where the unit is targeted by the ability because they have that, they do not gain the rules themselves that also come with it. So things like the crypt, they have to have it themselves. So things like the Crypt Thralls that would join a unit, while they would be getting the negatives for having fly. So anti-fly weapons and stuff like that would affect the unit more so because of the Wraiths having fly. The Crypteks, get this right, the Thralls themselves do not have the fly keyword. So therefore, they would not gain the benefit of fly and gain that ability to move over units and stuff like that in that same fashion. And that's a very important factor too. So you can't just join something to a unit and suddenly gain that. While in this ability, it kind of seems lower and less and not as relevant, there is stuff later on that may be relevant for. So this is an important thing to keep in mind, because when you start attaching units to things, like one of the things that I have considered and actually kind of bothers me with this rule is Castellan robots out of AdMech. So Castellan robots are vehicles. And with that being said, that means that they can't be hurt by some poison and anti-infantry weapons, and they're bulky against that. But in order for them to really operate, you got to put a data smith with them. And the data smith is a character, an infantry. So once that data smith is with them, suddenly they're susceptible to anti-infantry. So unless there's something in the AdMech Codex that specifically helps that, that's a rough beat for me. Him having the infantry keyword is going to kind of hurt. And it also hurts for these guys as well, too. It was something I thought about, and the reason I was looking into this even was because of the Crypt Thralls. A lot of people are like, oh, taking Crypt Thralls is terrible. It makes the unit inherently worse and everything like that. And I agreed. I was like, okay, well, yeah, if you're putting these guys in here, you're now adding the infantry keyword, which makes them susceptible to infantry weapons. As far as dragging their movement, I wasn't too concerned about that. Putting the Crypt Thralls in there was just a couple extra wounds before the Wraiths got hit, and I figured it was good, positive defense for an infiltrating Wraith squad. But if that was the sole reason that they were going to be able to be hit by anti-infantry weapons, that was concerning me. Looking into how the keywording works, just by putting a Technomancer in there, with the Technomancer having the infantry keyword, that makes it just, it doesn't, at that point, it's like, okay, well, we're already at the negative disadvantage. Now, granted, Crypt Thralls are kind of expensive, 60 points a piece, and I know people are sour on that because of their cost, but the anti-infantry portion would have been the selling point for me. If the Techno wasn't infantry and was something else, vehicle per se, or in that sense, I would be fine with it. Now, to me, it almost seems like we kind of need a subsect of it for this. I feel like if we're talking about anti-infantry weapons and stuff like that, and anti-psyker and stuff like that, I feel like now we start to get in the realm where that shouldn't be the case. And that almost seems like it needs to be errated and FAQ'd. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, yeah, of course, they're just in the bodyguard, leading the unit. That's not the case. And that's initially what I thought as well. I played some ways around that until I looked at that ruling and seen that it's actually directly an example for it. And I'll screenshot and put it up on the screen, what I found. but it directly is a lead example that a character is attached to a unit that is a psyker. And it specifically calls out the character, specifically calls out the anti-psyker, and specifically calls out that unit for being targetable with anti-psyker weapons because one model has the psyker keyword in that unit. So I feel like that's a rough one. I can understand with the psykers because of what psykers are. I feel like in some units we need to kind of fix this in some. Not saying it for technos, but there are a couple that I come to mind. One specifically is the thing like the Castellan robots. The Castellan robots are a massive bodyguard, and there is absolutely no reason that the Five Nights at Freddy animatronics of AdMech should not be able to defend against anti-infantry weapons to protect their data smith. And I feel like that is like one of the units that's like, dude, seriously, like you're going to allow poisonous weapons can now affect the robots because one character is alive in there. That to me is a bit much. Ways that we fix it, I mean, honestly, you just put it in the bottom of the unit that it attaches to. This does not confer when he's attached to a squad of AdMech, he loses the infantry keyword. Really that simple. I mean, he should have to be in line of sight of them. So doing little tricks of putting him behind a wall so he's out of line of sight so he can't be precisioned, it doesn't work for me. I feel like he should be out there in all intents and purposes. So that's my thought. That's my opinion on it. So, but this is all in all how keywords work. And this is very important because a lot of the Necron Codex bases on a lot of this stuff where a unit is targeted like a Cryptek unit. Well, the only thing that has the Cryptek keyword are Crypteks in general. So none of these strats are any good because you're only targeting a little Cryptek to do this. Oh, wait, the Cryptek joins the unit. Now that unit gains a Cryptek keyword, so the entire unit's targeted. And that's what kind of spiraled into wanting to see how this affected more on both the plus and minus side. What happens when I get hit with anti-infantry weapons, having a unit of Crypt Thralls in a unit? Oh, wait, it's not just the Crypt Thralls, it's the character too. So hopefully that helps clear stuff up, especially with Necrons just coming out. There might be some confusion around it. And I bet you there's some people out there who are looking at some of these detachments and going, like the Silent King is the big Overlord detachment, and going, this is terrible because here I am running these units, and what, I'm going to get this buff on just an Overlord, just a single noble? No, it's the unit. And that might help to re-look back at some of these units and go, oh, that's how that works. Now that's really good. So hopefully that helped clear some stuff up. I had to take some time and look at that too myself because I had a feeling I knew how it worked, but I didn't know how to say how it worked. And being someone who is a competitive player and tries to play at the highest competitive level, if someone asks me at a tournament, I really don't want to just say, well, it works that way because I saw it on the internet. And at the same time, too, I want to be able to give the tools out there for other people to be able to say that same thing of not, well, I saw it on the internet and this guy said it's done this way and that's how it's done. You're going to have to search keywords in the app, and you can see that in the, I believe it's advanced rules section that talks about how keywords are transpired. I will put the screenshot up on the earlier in the video to show that, but that's about it. All right, guys, hopefully this was informative for you and short enough as well. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.